Do you want to help solve a cold case? If you do, we have some exciting news. We are teaming up with a very well-known DNA and genetic genealogy company to solve a cold case. In a few weeks, we'll release a video with more details about the case we'll help solve. We'll be doing this through YouTube memberships. Half the money we receive will go to funding DNA testing and genetic genealogy, which will hopefully help solve the cold case. We have 2 membership levels, and both will help solve the cold case. But you'll also get more perks with your membership. With our lowest membership, you'll get loyalty badges, exclusive emojis, early access to videos, and a 15% discount on merchandise. With a higher membership, you'll get all those perks, plus an extra 10% off merch, an exclusive members-only video every month, and you'll be able to vote on the video's topic. But we think the most important aspect of the membership is to help solve the cold case. Once the case is solved, we'll do a video about it, and, with your permission, we'll have your name or username appear in the credits. This is your chance to change from a passive observer to an active participant in solving a murder. With your help, we hope to bring a killer to justice and give a family some closure. Not only will you help solve a cold case, but you'll also be supporting this channel as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please keep an eye out for a video about what crime will help solve. In the meantime, if you're interested in membership, please sign up so you can get early access to videos, the exclusive members-only videos, and other perks. Once again, thanks for watching. Number 3. The Amber Room. At the turn of the 18th century, construction began in Berlin, Prussia, which is modern-day Germany, on a special chamber called the Amber Room. Frederick I, the King of Prussia, commissioned the Amber Room. It was designed by German Baroque sculptor Andreas Schulter, and Danish Gottfried Wolfram started the construction. Wolfram was an expert in using amber, which is fossilized tree sap. It took 10 years to complete the room. It was a 172 square foot room adorned with amber and jewels. The room was then installed in the Berlin City Palace. Frederick I died in 1713, and his successor was Frederick William I. In 1716, Frederick William I gave the Amber Room to Russian Tsar Peter the Great as a gift of friendship and allegiance. The room was dismantled and shipped in 18 large boxes to the Tsar's winter house in St. Petersburg, Russia. In 1755, the room was repacked and sent to the Catherine Palace in what is now Pushkin, Russia. At the Catherine Palace, the room was modified to make it 592 square feet. Italian designer Bartolomeo Francesco Razzatelli was responsible for the redesign. Additional amber was shipped from Berlin to complete the construction. When it was finished, the walls were affixed with 6-ton panels of amber, and gold leaf and precious stones were scattered throughout. It was called the 8th Wonder of the World when it was completed. For nearly 2 centuries, the room remained undisturbed. Then on September 1, 1939, World War II began when German forces invaded Poland. Then the Germans, under control of Adolf Hitler's Nazi Party, then started to invade other surrounding countries. In June 1941, the Nazis launched Operation Barbarossa, which was a surprise invasion of the Soviet Union. When the curators at the Catherine Palace discovered that the Nazis were heading their way, they decided to hide the Amber Room. However, the amber started to crumble when they tried to dismantle it. Not wanting to destroy the room, they tried to disguise it with wallpaper. But after the palace was stormed, the Nazis found the room. Under the guidance of 2 experts, the room was disassembled in 36 hours and packed into 27 crates. The crates arrived in Königsberg, Germany on October 14, 1941. Königsberg is now Kaliningrad, Russia. The Amber Room was installed in Königsberg Castle and displayed to the public. 2 years later, the Germans were losing the war. In late 1943, Alfred Roda, the castle's curator, had the Amber Room dismantled and packed into crates. In August 1944, the Royal Air Force firebombed the city. The city, along with the castle, was left in ruins. Whatever was left of the city was damaged even more when the Soviet Red Army fired artillery shells into the area. The Soviets took control of Kreuzberg on April 9, 1945. Once they occupied the city, they searched the ruins of Kreuzberg Castle for the Amber Room, but they found no trace of it. There are several theories about what happened to the Amber Room. Most believed it was destroyed along with the rest of the city. Other people claim that they saw parts of it in crates being loaded onto the military transport ship, the Wilhelm Gustloff, in January 1945 in Dynien, Poland. The port city is now known as Dynia. On January 30th, 1945, the Wilhelm Gustloff departed from Dynien with an estimated 10,600 people on board. Hours later, it was sunk by a Soviet submarine. Over 9,600 people were killed, making it the greatest loss of life in a single boat sinking. So some people believe that the Amber Room sunk with the ship and is now on the floor of the Baltic Sea. Others have theorized that the crates are in a mine shaft that is now lost, where the Nazis hid their most valuable artifacts. In 1997, after receiving a tip, the police raided the office of an art seller in Bremen, Germany. They found a genuine panel from the Amber Room. The seller explained that he got the panel from his father, who is now dead. His father had been a Nazi soldier. The seller said he did not know where his father got the panel. No other parts of the Amber Room have ever been found, and its whereabouts remain a mystery. Some people believe it should stay lost because it's supposedly cursed. There are several untimely deaths connected to the Amber Room. Alfred Roda was the last man to order the room to be dismantled and packed up. In 1945, the Soviet intelligence agency, the KGB, was looking for the room, and they questioned Roda. If Roda knew where the Amber Room was, he did not reveal it to the KGB. The KGB wanted him to come in for a follow-up interview, but he did not show up. 53-year-old Alfred Roda and his wife were found dead. They had died from typhus, a bacterial illness. George Stein was a member of the Nazis' Engineer Corps. The Soviets captured him during the war. After the war, Stein was a farmer in Germany. In 1958, he read an article about the Amber Room, and he became obsessed with finding it. The search was all-consuming, and he lost his home and farm. In 1987, George Stein, who was deeply in debt, took his life in a forest. However, some believe he was murdered. General Yuri Gusev was the deputy head of the Russian Main Intelligence Department. He was killed in a mysterious car crash in November 1992. It was later determined he was murdered. Allegedly, at the time of his death, Gusev was leaking information to a journalist about the Amber Room. A reconstruction of the Amber Room was started in 1979 in Pushkin, where the Amber Room was located for 200 years before the Nazis stole it. The room cost $11 million. It took 24 years to complete. It was open to the public in 2003. According to estimates in 2016, if you were ever able to find the original Amber Room, it's worth about $500 million. Number 2. The Nazi Gold Train. Supposedly, when the Nazis realized they were on the verge of being defeated, they tried to hide some of the treasure they had stolen throughout the war. It's alleged that 300 tons of gold, jewels, weapons, and masterpieces of artwork were loaded onto an armored train in Breslau, which is now Wrocław, Poland. The train traveled to Zabodice, then set off for Volbrig, which were both cities in Poland. but somehow, before the train reached Walbrig, it disappeared. The leading theory is that the train entered a secret Nazi tunnel system. The entrance to the tunnel is believed to be in the Al Mountains in southwest Poland. Supposedly, the tunnel was connected to a series of tunnels under nearby Kazakh Castle. Between 1943 and 1945, the Nazis were forcing people to dig bunkers and tunnels in the area. It was called Project Riese. Riese is the German word for giant. It's believed that none of the tunnels or bunkers were ever finished. According to the legend, the train is still in a sealed-off tunnel. The problem is that there's no evidence the train ever existed. Yet the story was compelling enough that the Polish army searched for the train after the war, but they did not find any trace of the train that was full of treasure. 70 years after the war, in 2015, two Polish treasure hunters, Piotr Koper and Andreas Richter, claimed they found the train. The location was revealed to them during a deathbed confession. They said it's at the 65-kilometer mark of the Wrocław-Fallbrook railway track. Koper and Richter, who own a mine, used ground-penetrating radar in the area. They found an object that was about 110 yards long. The two men secured a 10% finder's fee from the Polish government, and the Polish government searched the area. It turned out that the two men had found an ice formation. However, the story sparked the interest of many treasure hunters. By 2018, Richter had given up the search for the train, but he is hopeful it will be found one day. In Expedition Unknown's second season, host Josh Gates joined treasure hunters, hoping to find the Nazi gold train. During the episode, the team explored the tunnel system and found an upper level to the tunnels, but they couldn't find a way to enter the upper levels. If the Nazi gold train does exist, it was valued at $200 million in 2016. If you go looking for the train yourself, remember you cannot dig without the consent of the Polish government, and the best deal they have offered is a 10% finder's fee. But still, 10% of $200 million is $20 million, which isn't a bad payday for solving one of the greatest mysteries of World War II. Number 1. Portrait of a Young Man. When the Nazis invaded Poland, their goal was to capture the capital, Warsaw, quickly. Polish Prince Augustin Józef Czartoryski, who lived in Warsaw, was alerted that the Nazis were closing in. He removed many of the finest artworks from the Czartoryski Museum and hid them in a residence in the town of Sinobawa. Three of the most important pieces of art that he hid: Rembrandt's Landscape with the Good Samaritan, Leonardo da Vinci's Lady with an Ermine, and Raphael's Portrait of a Young Man. Czartoryski hid the paintings behind a false wall in the basement, but the Nazis found them and they were sent to Berlin. Eventually, they were added to Adolf Hitler's collection in his hometown, Linz, Austria. Hitler wanted to open a museum in Linz. In January 1945, the paintings were in the possession of Hans Frank, the Nazis' head of general government in German-occupied Poland. They were hung in Wawel Castle in Krakow, Poland. This is the last known location of Portrait of a Young Man. As the Russian army was closing in on Frank in Poland, it's believed he shipped most of his artwork by train to the small village of Sekau in southwest Poland. After he moved the stolen artwork out of Krakow, Hans Frank fled Poland. American troops captured Frank in May 1945 in Germany. Then the Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archives Unit, MFAA for short, searched his office. The MFAA unit was a group of Allied service members and civilians tasked with finding, protecting, and returning historical art pieces to their rightful owners. They were portrayed in the 2014 movie The Monuments Men, which was directed by and starred George Clooney. It also featured Matt Damon, Bill Murray, and John Goodman. The unit recovered Da Vinci's Lady with an Ermine and Rembrandt's Landscape with a Good Samaritan that were stolen 6 years earlier in the early days of the war. But Raphael's Portrait of a Young Man was not found, and it remains missing to this day. Raffaello Cinzio d'Urbino was born in 1483 in Italy. His father was court painter to the Duke of Urbino. By age 11, Raphael was an orphan, and his uncle took him in. Raphael showed promise as a painter when he was young. Renowned painter Pietro Panigio trained him. By 1500, Raphael was considered a master. His first recorded commission was the Bronzini altarpiece dedicated to St. Nicholas of Tolentino. It was completed in 1501. Raphael built a solid reputation for himself in the following years. In 1508, Pope Julius II commissioned him to paint some of the Apostolic Palace in Vatican City. Raphael worked on an area called the Stanzi, which was intended as a suite for the Pope. At the same time, Michelangelo was painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. These works are considered some of the greatest artistic work of all time. The 4 rooms Raphael painted are now called the Raphael Rooms. Raphael's most well-known work is in one of the rooms, the School of Athens. Although the Vatican took up most of Raphael's time and commissioned most of his work, he occasionally painted for other people. Between 1513 and 1514, Raphael painted what most believe is a self-portrait, portrait of a young man. There is only one confirmed self-portrait of Raphael. He painted himself in the School of Athens. The facial features and portrait of a young artist are compatible but not identical to those of his depiction of himself in the School of Athens. Portrait of a young man shows a young, confident-looking, upper-class male wearing furs. Beneath his right arm is an Anatolian rug. Over the man's left shoulder, on the upper right side of the painting, is a window showing a nearby town with a church. Also in the window are many green trees, bushes, and a blue sky. The painting has a similar soft style to another famous painter of the time, Leonardo da Vinci. Raphael lived a relatively short life. On April 6, 1520, 37-year-old Raphael died from an unknown illness. At his request, he was buried at the Pantheon in Rome, where his body still lies today. After Raphael's death, Portrait of a Young Man stayed in Italy until 1798, when Polish Prince Adam Jerzy Czartoryski purchased it along with Da Vinci's Lady with an Ermine and brought them both back to Poland. Rembrandt's Landscape with a Good Samaritan was already part of the family's collection. Then in 1939, the paintings were stolen from the Czartoryski family by the Nazis. The last man in possession of the paintings, Hans Frank, was tried at Nuremberg for war crimes and crimes against humanity. He was found guilty and he was hanged in October 1946. If Frank knew what happened to the painting, he took that information to his grave. One conservator who worked with Frank claims he saw the painting loaded onto a train headed to Sikau. He said the train was destroyed before it reached its destination. The painting was destroyed as well. Some people think that the painting is still out there, waiting to be found. Some believe it's in the mine shaft with other art, monuments, and possibly the Amber Room. But no evidence of this mine shaft has ever been found. In September 2011, investigators thought they found the lost painting. It all started a year earlier when 77-year-old Rolf Nicholas Cornelius Gerlit traveled from Zurich, Switzerland to Munich, Germany. A border agent thought Cornelius was acting suspiciously. Cornelius told the border agent he had visited an art gallery in Switzerland for a business trip. He was now heading home. Cornelius was not breaking any rules, so he was not detained. However, the agent decided to investigate Cornelius and learned that for the past 50 years he had no work or tax records. Despite not having worked for 50 years, he lived in an upper-class neighborhood in Munich. Cornelius's last name, Gerlit, stuck out to the agent. Hildebrand Gerlit was the art dealer for the Führer Museum, which was to open in Linz, Austria. However, the museum never came to fruition. Hildebrand said that all the artwork for the museum was being stored in Dresden, Germany. In February 1945, Dresden was heavily bombed and there was a firestorm. Hildebrand said that all the paintings were destroyed. The border guard learned that Cornelius was Hildebrand's son. The border guard shared the information with the police, who started investigating Cornelius for tax evasion. In September 2011, the police got a warrant to search Cornelius's 3-bedroom apartment. They found almost 1,500 pieces of artwork that Nazis had stolen during World War II. This included works by famous painters like Picasso, Matisse, Klee, Munch, and Chagall. The collection was valued at €1 billion. Cornelius, a recluse, occasionally sold a painting to fund his lifestyle. There was hope that Raphael's portrait of a young man was in Cornelius's collection, but it was not. The German government has been trying to return the art to its rightful owners, but it's been challenging. Many paintings were stolen from Jewish people, and during the Holocaust, entire families were exterminated. So could the Raphael masterpiece still be out there in someone's collection, or is it a mineshaft that the Nazis used to store stolen goods? Or was it another casualty of war? The Nazis stole over 650,000 pieces of art. Portrait of a Young Man is considered one of the most important paintings missing since World War II. In 2012, Sotheby's London had an auction for one of Raphael's drawings. It sold for $47.8 million, making it the artist's highest-selling work to date. The final price doubled the pre-sale estimates. Experts think that Portrait of a Young Man could sell for at least $200 million. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. If you did find it interesting, please make sure you subscribe. We'll have a new video about the paranormal every week. If you just discovered this channel, please make sure you check out our other channel, Criminally Listed. We have over 325 videos featuring bizarre but true crime stories. You can find it at youtube.com/criminallylisted. We also have a podcast about cold cases that were eventually solved called Criminally Listed Presents Into the Killing. You can find it on Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon Music, and anywhere you find great podcasts. But that's all for today. Thanks again for watching.